No one seems to really have it completely together, and you can't expect that after 4 weeks. You just can't. That's not realistic. And so far this season, they have been outscored in the fourth quarter a total of 24-39 so far this season. It's not great. Lo and behold, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is back. What's going on, everyone? You are listening to the Antonio Chavran Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Chavran, and thank you all for tuning in. First off, I would like to just kind of get ahead of the curve here and accept the gratitude on behalf of the Royals organization. And I say all of that because going into our second to last series of the regular season, it was against the Washington Nationals. And obviously, me being local, I wanted to go check the boys out because they were on a 7 game losing streak coming into that series against the Nats. And so I was like, you know what? Let me bring them some good juju. So Fran and I, we went to the game, stayed the entire game, even into extra innings, where the Royals ended up winning that game 1-0. Um, going into and having to go into extra innings, and ooh, didn't mean to hit that there. And yeah, it was a great win, and it started. You know, how we were able to get the momentum back, as you can see, because the Royals just won the first game of this postseason for them, the wild card game one against the Baltimore Orioles. That game I was not able to go to, will not be able to go to any of those games. One, because they are at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and that's when I'm working, so I can't get away from that. And the other thing too is because it's the postseason, they're a little bit more pricey. So that's the other thing. But I watched from my living room, and boys were looking good. Pitching, freaking lights out. I mean, we have a hell of a bullpen this postseason, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do there. Off to a great start, and I heard on the broadcast as well that the Royals and Orioles game was the 18th game in this new MLB format of the wild card, where it's the best of three. Because before it was just one and done. Um, and 88% of the teams that won the first game, best of three in this new MLB format, won the series. So odds are looking pretty good for us right now. Obviously, knock on wood. Um, we keep it up, right? But yeah, all that to say, um, I am the reason for this. So you're welcome. Again, we are 4-2 to finish off the postseason after a 7 game skid. Prior to me showing up to Nats Park to support the boys in blue, actually we wore gray. I think we were wearing the all gray that night, so gray. But you know what I mean. Yeah, sweeping them in that series, the Nats, and then losing the first two in Atlanta, but winning that last one. Obviously, that second game, even though we lost, we clinched because the Twins lost, so that was huge for us, man. Talk about the Twins. What a absolute collapse. Let me just say, but we won't get into that. I really want to get more into football here, but just wanted to give the Royals a shout out. Um, they lost 106 games last season. And this season they turn it around and win what, 86, 87 games, 30 game turnaround. I mean, that's absurd. That just doesn't happen. So all credit to the Royals and management. What they've been able to do has been a great thing. So keep it up. Keep it up. We still got two. Well, let's do game by game. So, we got a tough game tomorrow against the Orioles, but going up 1-0, huge deal. So good for them. In this video, I'm really just going to be talking about. Well, I want to give my thoughts first on the Chargers game and some takeaways from that, and then I'm going to give my top 10 NFL team ranking right now. Currently at this particular moment in time in the season, I'm going to do this like quarterly. So, you know, 4 games, you don't have the greatest sample size, but you know, I think these first 4 games are somewhat telling of what these teams will be down the stretch, but, again, we still have 3/4 of the season to go, so we got plenty of time to go. So, anyways, I just first off, before I get to the Chargers game, was my score prediction not spot on against Atlanta? I said on this show, I said we would win 23-17. We ended up winning 22-17. If Butker doesn't miss that extra point, I'm spot on. So I just wanted to say that right there. I was pretty good in that. Anyways, I didn't make a video last week to give like any score prediction or anything like that. It's just busy week, busy with work. Um, but here I am, and just a couple thoughts, just to take away from that Chargers game. First off, the first thing I think of is Rashee Rice. Obviously, that was tough. Especially in the fashion in which it happened. It was off of a really bad turnover by Pat. Again, another turnover. Um, and then it was Pat laying the wood on his freaking kneecap. I mean, obviously, I know he was trying to get that Charger defender, but he totally missed and hit Rasheed right in the knee. And you saw the broadcast, you saw those replays, and oh, it was hard to watch. But apparently, potentially, it's not as worse as we thought because, from my understanding, there hasn't been any ruling that it was a torn ACL. It could be an MCL or PCL injury. We don't know yet, but um, typically, if that thing is torn, off the bat. So the fact that we're going to wait till next week, next Mondays, from what I heard, is when we could, hear a possible diagnosis about it. I mean, I think that's a good sign, right? I mean, it's not 100% confirmed that he, tore anything, so that's good, but everyone's already talking about now. Okay, well then, who are we going to go out and get? Are we going to go get Amari Cooper? That's been a big name circulating. Devonte Adams from Vegas, who just apparently, per sources, that's all Ian Rappaport send this out that Devonte Adams said that he'd be open to a trade, not to the Chiefs specifically, but to a team. Um, Devonte Adams had been connected to the Jets a lot, because Aaron Rodgers, it's an obvious fit. Um, People throughout the Cowboys, and I don't know why he would go there, but granted, he's being traded, so he doesn't necessarily have as much say. Um, but who knows? But I I don't see the Raiders trading them to us, who are in a division rival, and I mean we're back to back champs. Like what? This is kind of for all teams. But again, if you're not in it, right? What good does this season do for you? So, if you think about it that way, and just trying to be more optimistic. People are throwing out even Tyreek Hill maybe being on the trade block potentially, and we could be potential suitors for him. I don't know how much stock I'd put into that. Not a lot. Deontay Johnson from Carolina, another potential guy that could be on the trading block, along with some other guys here and there. Um, Look, what I'll say to these last two trade deadlines. Um, 2 years ago, we got Kadarius Toney, obviously from the Giants. Then before the trade deadline last season, we got McCall Hardman back from the Jets. Um, Important pieces to the team, but not these big name receivers that you're typically used to seeing. So I don't know what we do from that standpoint. I don't know, but I thought Nick Wright on First Things First said this really well. He said when it comes to management, when it comes to the higher ups that are making decisions, when it comes to being able to have a sustainable run, a dynastic run, you make sober decisions. If we were to make a decision in the heat of the moment, fresh off of Rashee Rice getting injured, in the heat of the moment, trying to get a new receiver, that's not a sober moment. That's not a sober decision. So I appreciated him, you know, stepping back and being like, hey, let's not, you know, hit the big red button yet, right? And I thought that made sense because, you know, everyone is talking about, oh yeah, we're 4-0, but they're ugly wins. They're wins. They're wins. I don't care how we win. The fact of the matter is we're one of two teams now that are 4-0, us and the Vikings. So I don't to me, it doesn't necessarily matter how we win, it's that we win. Now, look, are there a lot of things that the Chiefs can brush up on? Absolutely. I think Pat needs to get it together in terms of not passing or in terms of not turning the ball over as much as he has been. It hasn't been good. He has like 5 or 6 picks through 4 games. That's horrible. That's not like him. And so and they've been misses. It wasn't like last season where it was a situation where we could pin it on the receivers. That's not the case this season. He's missing. This is on Pat this time. It's not on the receivers. And so he just needs to relax because obviously with Pacheco out, we haven't been able to depend on him. But lo and behold, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is back. And I have a feeling he's going to be a real big factor for us this season. I as soon as Carson Steele fumbled that damn ball, I was like, Kareem's in. This is going to be Kareem's game. And it was. Now look, he didn't have any like startling numbers, you know, I can just like look them up for you right now just to get, you know, some quick stats from his production. For his first game back, his first game being back, um he played great. I mean, let's see. 14 carries, 69 yards, 4.9 yards a carry, basically 5 yards a carry, and his long was 10 yards. I'll take that. I'll take that all day. In his first game back, I wouldn't be surprised if this game against the Saints, he gets close to 85, 90 yards and a touchdown. I mean, look, I'm excited about this Carson Steele kid, but he clearly hasn't proven to have that type of ball security that we need. Not right now, you know? And so I could you imagine if Kareem Hunt just has like this amazing season for us after his entire arc with the Chiefs back in 2018, 2019, how that all happened, how that all went down, how that all ended. Um, just to see where it is now, like just a total full circle thing. I mean, how perfect would that be? It would be amazing. And so I think that we'll be fine on the ground. And Samaji P. Ryan, good pickup for us. You know, I'm happy that we have him. You know, we got a good I gotta give this to the Chiefs. We are really good with making on-fly decisions. We are really good at, you know, preparing for the potential worst case scenario. Like we have guys, we're ready. And I love, and that's how we've been able to sustain the success as much as we have so far. Seriously. And everyone's like, oh, the wide receiver room is up in arms and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, it's not like last year. Okay. It's just not. Um, we got Xavier Worthy, who I think is going to start taking some big strides now. Obviously, it's not going to happen right away, but we're going to see an uptick in his production. Absolutely. Um, Juju Smith Schuster, look, he's going to need to adjust a little bit more, but give him some time. I don't, again, everyone's like, it isn't perfect right now. And so that's why it's not good. Like, no shit, it's not perfect right now. We're 4 weeks into the season. And a lot of these guys are new. The only returning receivers are Justin Watson, McCole Hardman, and Sky Moore. And obviously Rasheed Rice. That's it. Juju Smith-Schuster, he had been out for a season already with the Patriots, out of the system of the Chiefs. So he's got to get back into it. Xavier Worthy is a rookie. Um, Hollywood Brown, I haven't even talked about him, but we're not going to see him for the rest of regular season, maybe postseason. Um, so this stuff takes time. It's not going to happen right away. But the fact that we're winning the way that we are, and look, the defense has been freaking on one. They really have. They've been amazing, and have been the reason why we've won a lot of these games. I got to give them a lot of credit for that. You have to. They've been absolutely great. So, it's tough to see what happened with Rasheed and everything, but I feel like we're fine. Like let's not hit the panic button, okay? Seriously. And if you look at these other NFL teams, I mean, Baltimore just ran over the Bills after we were looking at the Bills like, oh, 3-0. Are they the best team in the NFL? They get 35 hung on their head, and they get an 87-yard run touchdown or 87-yard rush touchdown out of the gate, first play from the Baltimore Ravens in the first quarter. I mean, it ended up losing 35-10. So after a Ravens team that has lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Raiders, and almost gave up a win after the Cowboys mounted a 19-point comeback in the fourth quarter and almost won that game. So, like, we can't predict what's going to happen week to week right now. We just can't. The NFL is just so up in the air. All these teams, you don't exactly know what they are. You don't know how they're going to be the rest of the season. The Buccaneers have completely revived themselves and look like a very competent team. The Eagles are good, and then they're not, and then they just get their ass whooped by the Buccaneers 33-16. I mean, the Lions and Seahawks, that was an amazing game last night, but a Seahawks team that had, been locked down on defense gets 42 hung on them. And the Bengals are 1-3. They were freaking lucky to win against Carolina. That was on a one-game heater because they switched to Andy Dalton from, Bryce Young. The Jaguars are 0-4. They suck. The Texans are 3-1, but they got humbled by the Vikings 34-7. The Steelers are 3-1, almost 4-0 when they mounted a little bit of a comeback against the Colts, but lose that game 27-24. I mean, you just don't know right now. You don't know. So if you're gonna ask me as a Chiefs fan if I'm worried, no. Not when I'm looking at all these other teams. I haven't even talked about the Niners, who are potentially not going to have McCaffrey for the rest of this season. I mean, no. I'm not worried. Especially given the fact that out of all the teams right now I see in the NFL, no one seems to really have it completely together. And you can't expect that after 4 weeks. You just can't. That's not realistic. You need to wait. You just have to, you know? And again, I have to keep that in the back of my mind when I'm looking at these games that the Chiefs are playing right now. And again, against the Chargers, against this new team with Jim Harbaugh, with the new smash mouth football type of mentality that they've become accustomed to now under the Harbaugh rule. Um, you know, it's shown some spots. It did. Obviously, we got punched in the mouth real quick, especially after shooting ourselves in the foot, down 10-0 real quick, and then we score 17 unanswered points and win. Travis Kelce came back to life. He had a great game. He had like 60 something yards through the first 3 games and then popped off for what, 80, 90 yards in this game. So, yeah, it happens. And obviously, with Rashee Rice out now, it'll be interesting to see what his role is going to be in terms of the production and the amount of times he's going to be getting the ball thrown his way. I mean, Rashee Rice was kind of filling in that role of not so much, completely replacing Kelce, but emulating his game in a way where he has plays after the play. You know what I mean? Like after the play, kind of does its thing, and the route's done, and then but this play's still going. What do you do in that moment? What do you do on the fly? What do you do in the moment when the play broke down? Oh, now you got to make a whole other play and you got to find something. Like that's what Rasheed Rice has been able to do. He has taken on that role. And look, inevitably, Kelsey's production will drop a little bit. It's natural. He's what, 33, 34 years old? It's going to happen. He's been in the league for what, 11, 12 years, 13 years. Like he's been in the league for a while. So yeah, since he was drafted in 20. So yeah, it's his 11th year. He didn't play the first year because of a knee injury. So his 10th year, like really playing. Yeah, a lot of tread on those tires, especially when he's playing the amount of playoff games that he's playing now too. And he just surpassed Tony Gonzalez for the most receptions in Chiefs history. You know, so it was at a 917. I think he ended with 922 catches. So he's been a dog. Cut him some slack. I feel like you know, uh, people just want to hound him so bad. They really do, and then, it just shows how much he lives rent free in these dudes' heads. It's crazy. So, anyways, I it was a tough, gritty win. I'm happy for the win, but man, I don't know how much longer we can keep winning when we're shooting ourselves this much in the foot. Seriously, like let's play a game where Pat doesn't throw an interception or where we don't fumble the ball. How about that? I would like for that to happen. Sorry, I got the little bit of the hiccups here. So, anyways, after week 2, I was like, "Oh man, we got to play the Saints." And then after week 4, I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got to play Saints. We got this." You see, like Taylor, two teams here. First 2 weeks of the season, the Saints look like the best freaking team in the NFL, averaging like 50 points. Not that much, but close to it. And then these last 2 games dropped the ball against the Eagles, and then they lost to the Falcons in a close one, but still lost. So tough game against the Saints, but I definitely feel a lot better than I did after week 2. That's for sure. So, anyways, and I'll give a score for that. What I think is going to go down with that game uh, towards the end of the video. So let's get to these top 10, shall we? Top 10. Again, this is just my opinion. Just my humble opinion. I'm a little bit parched here. A little bit of water. Number 10. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers scoring 18.8 points per game, allowing 13.3 points per game, which is second best in the NFL. I mean, look, this is Pittsburgh Steelers football. Pound you in the mouth, don't let you score. They may not score themselves, but it don't matter because they're going to have you score less than them. I mean, look, they balled out against the Colts that one game. And yeah, I think they put up like 31 points or something like that. And look, it's been an interesting back and forth with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. But Fields is 3-1. He doesn't look too bad right now, right? I feel like he's starting to find his own in this offense. And Mike Tomlin still got a real good hold on this team. It's they know their identity. They know what they are, and I think they're one of the few teams in the NFL, even if they aren't always like one of the top teams in the league, you know what you're getting from them, and there's something to appreciate about that. So, and again, TJ Watt's just an absolute dog. They're playing great right now on defense, and wouldn't want to match up against them. So yeah, have him rounding up this top 10 at number 10. Moving up to number 9, I have the Green Bay Packers. Worse record than the Steelers, who are now at 2. Steelers 3-1. Pittsburgh, Green Bay 2-2, scoring 26 points per game, top 10 in the NFL. If you want to be specific, that's the 6th most in the NFL. Allowing though 22.5 points per game. I mean, look, with the injury to Jordan Love after that first game against the Eagles, they had to throw Malik Willis in there, and he was 2-0. Obviously it wasn't pretty, but they were still able to put up 2 wins in Jordan Love's absence. And look, they came up against a juggernaut up until this point in the Vikings and almost mounted a comeback again. They were down, what, 28 to nothing, and at one point it was a 28-22 ball game. And obviously Jordan Love came back into this game, but was clearly limited. So again, I don't think this is this 2-2 record is indicative of this Packer team. And yeah, again, and Jair Alexander was out of that game too. They've been dealing with some injuries, so I think once they get up and healthy, this is going to be a really good Packer team to go against. And I mean, if you think about it, this whole NFC North team is this NFC North division as a whole is just stacked. I mean, the Lions after Monday night looked fantastic. The Vikings are 4-0. They're on a heater right now. Sam Darnold is potentially an MVP candidate up until this point. So, that's the NFL for you, baby, Number 8 at the Seattle Seahawks, scoring 25.5 points per game, top 10 in the NFL. And allowing 21.3 points per game. Obviously, they were one of the better defenses in terms of points allowed from their opponent through their first 3 games, as they were 3-0, and then just came up against a brick freaking wall against the Detroit Lions. Tough for me because I was starting Seattle's defense as well. Gave me 1 point, and I don't want to get into that because I freaking lost. I lost. I had HN starting my the person I was going against. All their players played. I had Seahawks defense, Devon HN, and it was basically like I should have won. And then HN gives me 5.9 points a game in the game, and I get 1 point from the Seattle Seahawks. It was so bad. I was so pissed last night. Anyways, we move forward. It's all right. Again, they have a great running back situation with Kenneth Walker. I mean, that guy's an absolute beast. And look, Smith and Jigba, they got obviously Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. They have a solid wide receiving core. And Geno Smith, I mean, look, you know what you're going to get from him. He can put up some numbers, but at some point he's got a ceiling. But with the new coach in town and, they're just like starting to, really pick up where they left off with Pete Carroll, which is pretty commendable given the fact that usually when you see these handoffs and no pun intended, in head coaching positions, there's a little bit of a dip in production, but they really are picking up where they left off, and you got to give them a lot of credit for that. Again, 3-1. This Lions game was very much an outlier compared to what they've been putting up this season so far. But again, a solid Seahawks team that I can, definitely see having a 9-8, 10-7 record potentially for in the playoff and a wild card spot. So, don't sleep on the Seahawks. This may be my first potential controversial. I don't know. I don't think it's controversial. I have the Bills at number 7. Would I have had the Bills at number 7 before the beatdown they suffered against the Ravens just this past Sunday? Probably not. I probably would have had them in the top 3, top 4. But again, this is only through 4 games, and they played pretty well against pretty bad teams the first 3 games. And their first real test, they get rocked. So, I mean, what do you expect me to do with that, right? Still sitting at 3-1, scoring 30.5 points per game, which is second best in the NFL, allowing 20.8 points per game. But like I said, with those first 3 games that they played, combined record of 2-10. In the first game they played against the Cardinals, that was a close game. They won 34-28. That was a close game. So, and again, the real big test that they had against the Ravens, they get crushed. So, that kind of told me a lot. And look, Josh Allen's balling out right now. He's got 7 TDs. He's got 9 total touchdowns, 7 passing, 2 rushing, 203 yards per game. He's throwing a near 70% completion percentage, 106 rushing yards, and like I said, no interceptions. So he's been balling out. But again, like it matters who you play. And through your first 3 games, the 3 teams that you played a combined 2-10 record. Then you go up against a competent team in the Ravens who didn't look the most competent going into this game. Um, that's going to tell me something about your team. So have my number 7 right now. I'm not going to overreact too much. They're still in the top 10, still a great team, but that Ravens game was telling. And actually now at number 6, I have the Ravens. Again, great game against the Bills. But I'm not going to overreact too much because they played 3 games before that, and there was some concern in those games. Scoring 26.5 points per game, allowing 22 points per game. Let's talk about their fourth quarters for a second. Haven't been great. Um, let's talk about that Raider game because I talked to nauseam about the Chiefs game. Um, they lost a 13-point lead against the Raiders, losing 26-23 in that game. A Raider team that does not look too great right now after 4 games. Almost lost against the Cowboys, like I said earlier, after giving up 19 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. They end up winning that game still, but again, it was kind of a nail biter. And so far this season, they have been outscored in the fourth quarter, a total of 24-39 so far this season. It's not great. It's not great, nor is that a statistic that you want to attach to your ball club for the simple fact that the fourth quarter is where the big plays happen. That's where the games are won and lost. And so if this is going to be, a contending team, they got to get it together. I do think, however, there were major, major signs of improvement for this Ravens team for the simple fact that they have their identity now. You have Derek freaking Henry. You better give him the ball. 15, 20 carries at least. And obviously, look, I get it. You have Lamar Jackson. You paid him. You want to use him. But this is the Ravens' best formula. Run the ball, dude. Run the ball. They should have done that against us in the AFC Championship game, but they didn't. And so, yeah, you got to pound the rock, man. And so I think with them seeing how they played against the Bills, I would like to think that knocks some sense into them being like, "Oh, we can win like that? Yeah, no shit, you can win like that?" So, we'll see how this goes for the Ravens going forward, but I definitely think it's a big boost for them. All right, now we're into our top 5. Rounding up this top 5, or starting this top 5, that is, I got the Detroit Lions. Look, huge game, great win against the Seahawks. Scoring 26.6 points per game, 6 most in the NFL. Allowing 20.5 points per game, which is again top 10 defense in the NFL. So they're top 10 in both defense and offense, which is the first team so far on this list that I've been able to say that. Look, everyone knew going into this season that they were going to be contenders. They were going to be serious contenders. I mean, they almost made it all the way to the Super Bowl last year. And so, and talk about a run game. I think they have the best 1-2 punch with running backs in the NFL. If in Miami, if they were healthy, they got Achane, they got Mostert, they got Wilson too. I mean, that's a great backfield for them. But the most consistent, I mean, has been David Montgomery and Gibbs. Like they've been stupid. And so I think having those 2 guys, having a Jameson Williams, having an Amon-Ra St. Brown, those guys are absolute dogs. Sam Laporta, right? They got a squad. they have a squad, and Jared Goff, 18 of 18. I mean, yeah, they looked great. They looked great against the Seahawks defense specifically, again, that have been balling going into this game through 4 weeks so far. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to look at here. Um, I'm be very optimistic about it as a Lions fan. And to be honest with you, it's them, it's the Vikings, and I'm gonna give it away right now. My four here, but so far the best teams that I've seen in the NFC right now. And let's get to it. Number four, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, uh, actually, the Lions are some of the three of, yeah. So, spoiler, I have in my top five, four of the five are NFC teams. So, just that I put that out there. But the Buccaneers, again, scoring 24.3 points per game, allowing 19.5 points per game. 3-1 though. I mean, what do I have to say about? I mean, Baker has reinvented himself. Um, you got to give it to him. I have to give it to him because I always thought he was a major douche. Um, but he's grown on me a little bit just for the simple fact that he's had it tough in his career. Did not go well with Cleveland. Obviously, had that one playoff run, beat the Steelers, and then he went up against the Chiefs, and then anything was possible. And knew what happened there. We all know how that ended up. Um, Gets bounced, goes to Carolina. Um, then he goes to LA, and then like has a little resurgence in his career that last half of the season with LA, the Rams. Then ends up in Tampa, out of all places, and is balling out so far. Um, a great defense, led by Todd Bowles, head coach. Um, yeah, I mean, this has just been a good team so far, and obviously it wasn't a great game against the Broncos, which is their one and only loss so far this season. But they've beaten the Commanders, they've beaten the Lions, and they just beat the Eagles. Some of the top teams or looked at as some of the top teams in the not just the NFC, but all of the NFL. Maybe not so much the Eagles because they got some shit they got to work through. But real quality wins so far this season. So you have to look at it from that perspective as well, which is again why I have them above the Lions because they have that head-to-head matchup, um, albeit like only the second game of the season. But and I mean that logic maybe doesn't necessarily make the most sense because number three, I have the Commanders. Is that is that crazy? I have the Commanders number three. Look, maybe I'm in the heat of the moment. Maybe I'm in the heat of the moment. That's okay if it's week 4. It's not like week 12 where you have a better idea of where these teams are. I love how the Commanders look. That game against Cincy, that freaking bomb to Terry McLaurin. Oh my god. That was just an amazing game. And on top of that, I hate the Bengals, so that just felt so good. But man, I mean, they look great, and they just destroyed the Cardinals. Now the Cardinals aren't a great team, um, but man, they crushed them. They look good, man. They look really good. Um, they got a good backfield with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. I forgot they had Zach Ertz at tight end. Just is some good pieces around there. And look, that boy Jaden Daniels, he's been balling out. All credit to that coaching staff too, led by Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury. Like they have it down right now. They are without a doubt the best team in their division. And look, I mean, I couple them up there at the top, with Detroit, with Tampa, with Minnesota. I can you really put I mean, San Francisco, I don't have them in my top 10, but I mean that'll probably change as we go through the season. But right now, I mean, I picked these 10 other teams ahead of them. So uh the Commanders are up there right now for me. They really are, and I'm just really impressed with what I've seen from them so far. I mean, and just offensively too, like they've just been on one. They really have. I don't know how many drives they went without like punting. Like they were at least scoring at least a field goal, um, on all their drives. Like they've just been unconscious. They really have, and so you got to really give credit to this turnaround that Washington has been going through right now because I mean, look, obviously, I live locally. I'm in Maryland, but I'm a Chiefs fan, so I don't really feel it. But even still being local, I see somewhat close up just of how bad it's been to be a Commanders fan, and you're seeing the turnaround, and I'm so happy for this organization because the fans deserve a good team to root for. So all credit to them. Now I'm in my top two. Number two, I have the Minnesota Vikings. One of the top two teams, one of the only two teams to be undefeated so far through 4 games, scoring 29 points per game, which is fourth in the NFL, allowing 14.8 points per game, which is also fourth best, or the league, yeah, fourth best in the NFL in terms of points allowed. Um, Look, what more can I say about the Vikings? I've alluded to them throughout this whole top 10 list. They look great. Sam Darnold is balling out. I mean, the guy's putting up MVP numbers. He's turning the clock. Well, is he really turning the clock? Because in the beginning of his career, he wasn't that great. So it's really just a resurgence in his career. I mean, obviously, he started with the Jets, didn't go well there. He had Adam Gase as your freaking head coach. Of course, he's not going to succeed. Goes to Carolina, ship him off to San Francisco, where he's a backup to Brock Purdy, gets to learn what a competent offense, what a competent organization looks like. Then he goes to Minnesota, starting up, was supposed to be the backup to JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy gets hurt in the preseason. Sam Darnold, you're our guy. Let's get it going. And boom, through your first 4 games, you're balling out. And then look, you got Justin Jefferson, you got Jordan Addison, you have these guys around you. TJ Hawkinson is coming back from injury eventually, and he's going to be your guy. You got Aaron Jones in the backfield, who is I'm in fantasy, so been reaping the benefits of that. I can just say that he's been great. And a great defense. Again, Brian Flores has his fingerprints are all over this defense. Again, they're not even allowing 15 points per game. They're not fourth best in the NFL for no reason. And Kevin O'Connell just is a good coach, good solid coach, and um, yeah, they got it going on right now in Minnesota, and um, I think they're legit. I really think they are. Now, can I say like they're going to go to the Super Bowl? I don't know if I want to say all that, but hey, I think they could at least make the AFC Championship game or NFC Championship game. Absolutely. I mean, they haven't been able to give me a reason to think not. So, yeah, the Vikings look really good, really good. Um, and they have some quality wins, especially that Texans game. They won 34-7 against a Texans team that I have been on the record saying that they're one of the few teams that I fear that I have maybe fear is a strong word. But I respect them, and I think that they're going to be one of the better teams in the AFC. They hung 34 on them and held them to 7 points. That said a lot to me. So yeah, it just great wins so far for this team. Obviously being the 49ers too right out of the gate. I mean, that was a big win. So they look good, man. They look good. You can't dispute it. Um, and then obviously rounding up his top 10 list so far through the first 4 weeks in the NFL. I have the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, scoring 20 or averaging 23 points per game, allowing 18 points per game, seventh best in the NFL. Look, I'm not going to tell you anything more right now than what I've said already in this video. Um, Until I see a team genuinely throw them off and prove to me that the Chiefs aren't the best team, I'm gonna keep thinking they're the best team. I get it. The Ravens game came down to a toenail. The Bengals game came down to blatant, obvious pass interference call. Um, we played well against Atlanta. That was a little bit more of a convincing win. And defense balled out against the Chargers, and we were able to mount a 17-0 comeback, win 17-10. So again, there's going to be ebbs and flows of this season, but for the Chiefs right now, look, I mean, yeah, Pat isn't off to the greatest start, but I'm still going to ride or die with Patrick Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the entire NFL and has been for the past few seasons now. Um, Andy Reid, I trust in Andy Reid. I feel like that when it comes to the pieces that we're going to have to start shifting around a little bit due to injury and stuff like that, I feel like we're going to adjust. But look, through the trials and tribulations that we're going to go through in the season, I feel like if anyone can right the ship, it's the Chiefs. It is like Brett Veach, the GM for the Chiefs, won his 200th win as the Chiefs GM. He's been the GM since like, I don't know, 2013, 2014. And he has 200 wins as a GM. That's a lot. You only play 16, 17 regular seasons in the NFL. And if you make it to the playoffs, another 3 or 4, and he's got 200 of them things. That says a lot as well. I think with the addition of Kareem Hunt, that's huge. I see him balling out. I have a lot of expectation for Kareem Hunt. I think he's going to ball out. I think Travis Kelce is going to see a little bit of an uptick in production than he has seen through these past few games. That's cool. He's proven that he can handle it. I feel like Juju's going to find his own a little bit more. Justin Watson, I feel like I trust Justin Watson. Obviously, he's not like the most consistent receiver that we have in terms of like, throwing the ball his way. But when he does get the ball, he makes plays. He's a big play type of guy. I trust in him. McCall Hardman, I'd be interested to see how he's going to do, what his production is going to be like, and not just see him on punt returns and kick returns. We'll see what happens with Rashee Rice, but if not, I feel like we'll be okay. Defense is locking it down, keep going. So again, we've beaten the Ravens, we've beaten the Bengals, we've beaten the Falcons, we've beaten the Chargers. All teams that people would have thought maybe were making the playoffs. Definitely the Ravens. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we thought the Bengals, and they were self-proclaimed, a la Jamar Chase, that they're the team to beat in the NFL, and they're 1-3. I won't be too petty and get into that. Falcons again, another good team, a playoff team, and the Chargers obviously with Jim Harbaugh, everyone loves him, and you know think that they're going to make a name for themselves this season. People may be jumping the gun on that, but that's what they're saying. So yeah, I would pick the Chiefs over any of these teams right now. I would, because you can put up all these points you want against these other teams, but as soon as you get to the Chiefs, you're not your same offense. You're just not. You're not your same defense. So you don't coach the same. So, anyways, that's my top 10. Just a quick refresher here. 10 Steelers, 9 Packers, 8 Seahawks, 7. Who did I have at 7? Bills, 6 Ravens, 5 Lions, 4 Buccaneers, 3 Commanders, 2 Vikings, 1 Chiefs. I think that's solid. I mean, I've seen some similar lists, um, on other channels and other, TV shows and stuff like that, sports shows. I haven't seen a list that has been identical to mine, so I'm unique in that sense and unbiased. Um, but yeah, so just really quickly to wrap this up, I know I was going to give a Saints and Chiefs score. Again, I don't think we're going to put up like a bunch of points here, but I could see us getting at least. I could see the Chiefs getting at least 24 points. I think we'll win this game. I'm going to pick us to win 26-21. It's kind of a, you know what, 27-21. 27-21. I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. Um, yeah, I think we get that run game going a little bit more. I do. And I don't know the update on Tyron Matthew. I saw he got hurt in that last game. I mean, I miss him as a Chief. I really do. He balled out with us. But with the Saints, he's been great. He's been great for this New Orleans defense, and he got hurt. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go against us this coming Monday. Um, so we'll see. But I feel good. I do. And these last 2 games, they haven't looked great. But that Saints defense is legit. They have a great offense, but I feel like if Philly's able to hold them to like 13 points, I feel pretty confident about our chances. And they had a good fight against the Falcons. But again, that's a division game. Division games are always closer than other teams outside your division, let alone your own conference. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs 27-21. And yeah, I'll see when I can get back to you guys. Again, it's been busy with work, but I also got another story I want to be covering this Friday for the Baltimore Sun. My first football game. Super excited for that. It's 6:30, and you'll be able to check it out. I mean, the last 2 stories I did, my first like my game stories where I was reporting on actual games, they were published that night. Um, so this Friday night, it's the Century Boys High School football team against the Francis Scott Key High School, at Francis Scott Key, I believe. So yeah, that's going to be my first football game though. All of them have been soccer up to this point, so now that it's football, I'm really excited about that. So anyways, it'll just be a little busy, but I'm going to try to get something for you all next week. Just a reaction to the Chiefs game and just some other stuff about the NFL. And if I can find anything to do with Royals stuff too, hopefully we win game 2 tomorrow and then we're on to the Yankees. But we'll get there when we get there. Let's take it one game at a time. So, anyways, thank you all for listening, and I will catch you all next time. Peace.